My name is Tristan Wong. This project is Makin Gallery for James Makin, of course. It's built by Axiom Built and Hugh Makin, which is James's brother, and photography by Michael Pham. James Makin Gallery is one of the longest running small-scale galleries in Victoria. It started its life as Port Jackson Press many moons ago. And in 20 years ago, it rebranded to James Makin. It found a spot in Collingwood, as many of you might know, in Cambridge Street. And within the last couple of years, he had to move. So he started that journey of looking for a new space and came to me because we had known, my family had known his father, Jeff Makin, for many years. And he found a terrible warehouse in Collingwood, not far from the old space. And I guess it did start to present a real challenge, how we're going to get, I guess what you'd call, state-of-the-art contemporary gallery into the bones of not a great warehouse. So we went through a process of kind of, seeing what was going to, how we could transform the space. Would the floor need to be, recovered with an epoxy? Was the ceiling even going to be suitable? The humidity, the wall linings, all of this, how are we going to kind of build into this space? So a big part of the project did end up being around reuse and regeneration of a pretty tired space. The roof actually becomes a really important part of the design. We actually took some kind of design cues from that, I guess, because we wanted a bit of a memory of the space that it is. Not that it has any real redeeming qualities, but just a sort of memory of what it was built into, which had been a factory for many years. Importantly for James was the notion of deformalising the traditional gallery. And that's something that was very important for him in the brief. He's very strong in the idea of making more accessible art and not having that overly institutional feel, the very formal reception and going into spaces. So he was really keen that it kind of had a strong counterpoint to those aspects, the all whiteness, the orthogonal nature of galleries, which are all practical and necessary. But was there a way that around the edges of the gallery they could be subjected to something a bit more almost theatrical and dramatic and less formal? He wanted to explore ideas around scale, and we had that opportunity because of the warehouse space had really lofty ceilings, and the notion of procession coming into the space and how you journey to the main gallery space. And I guess it was also about, so many parts of a gallery are often not well resolved. Things like even in event mode, people pull out a trestle table for the food and drinks. He wanted it to be all more considered in sort of one unified space. Things like toilets are often kind of tucked away. So he's trying to rethink the things that are often, the back of house things. He wanted them to actually have a bit of, some quality or sense to them. And enhance the social aspects of the gallery, not just the art itself. So the fact that so much of going to, say, an opening is about meeting other artists or other people, talking about art, and that social kind of aspect and ceremony is, and of course the art itself has to be presented somehow. The modes of operation, again, he wanted that into this kind of single unified arrangement, not to have to pull things out when it was in a certain mode. If there was a private viewing, not have to pull seats out, have the spaces sort of work, and they could always be set in those different modes. And importantly for staff as well, he has a number of permanent staff, so how they could go to a space that was always beautiful and always didn't feel like an office at the back of the space, but actually felt like a central part of the gallery. So we started to explore this idea of trying to get a lot of that program to the front of the space. It had typically been at the back of the space in his old gallery. How can we kind of bring some of those things to the front, and actually certainly the social aspects, the viewing room, the bar, the reception, the arrival, kind of make them occur in this sort of central node. And there was also the idea of creating these moments of compression and then, openness. So you only got a glimpse, this is kind of early conceptual sketches, but coming in through here, journeying past the arrival, a reception area, I should say, there's a sort of an area that deals with the ebbs and flows of people. So, a few people can kind of cram into this space and then move on through into the main gallery space out here, but only giving a glimpse of what happens. And so you can see a lot of the sort of intensity that occurs at the front of the gallery space. You enter in through here, and there is a reception, arrival area, bar. There's the viewing room and library. There's actually bathrooms in here. So all of this stuff, rather than being at the back, is sort of at the front. And then there's the two kind of more formal gallery spaces. Things like we loved the old trusses that were in the space, so we wanted to keep that. It had, you know, that terrible kind of clear laser-like corrugated polycarbonate. We wanted to keep that, but re-enhance it. So we kind of lined it differently and looked at ways of sort of amplifying that old corrugation. And so a lot of the forms kind of took cues from the roofline itself, so they were kind of a memory of it. But we created these more dramatic plays with the forms, and particularly this main kind of object, which houses a lot of that program. So that kind of ends up being a floor plan of the final gallery itself, where you can see we tuck a lot of that stuff into the front of the gallery, the arrival, the bar. The kitchen is tucked into cabinetry too, for heating and even things like the sink and whatnot. That orange one popped up is the viewing room and library, and then the bathroom facilities all at the front of the gallery. So the idea of journeying in, but you only get glimpses of the actual gallery beyond. I'll skip through some of this. These were images really produced during the design process to kind of communicate the design. There was lots of different tests on how the bookshelving would work. That was an important part. It had to hide a fire hydrant. It had to have a secret whiskey cabinet. It had to house books and art. So it had to have these different little moments where things could be kept and presented. And the drawings themselves during the construction process, so much was done on site, which I'll show you in a moment. So a lot of it was pretty basic drawings, working very closely with the builder and the joiners. It was predominantly a joinery project. So there weren't a lot of technical drawings that actually went into this project. Lots of photography was done during the construction progress because I was there so often, and there was someone trying to document the process as well, which was a beautiful part of that process. And there was a film made about how we workshopped so much on site in that process. And so the final gallery, you can see these sort of ways that the forms bend and create kind of a bit of drama as you come in. That's a 4.5 metre high wall on the right. The door weighs 500 kilos, and when it's closed, you don't know there's a door there. So it's very seamless, that whole wall. It's a kind of a secret room in the end. The reception bar is actually sort of slightly bent, like a kind of in a boomerang form, because again, that whole space is sort of like belly-like. The timber has this incredible, it was taken to with a wire brush which peels away the grain and amplifies all of the sort of, almost amplifies the grain in the timber. It almost becomes kind of topographical. And that's part of, making it special for the people that work there too. They kind of get to look at this incredible tactile surfaces. So it's as much about the workers as it is the visitors. There's 2 big steel oculi that go into that viewing room, allowing a beautiful natural light. And importantly, the gallery is almost lit entirely with natural light through daytime hours. So that was another effort to reduce its reliance on artificial lighting. That has no lights on in this, and they actually... Sorry?
Just wrap up the timing.
Sure. So they actually operate the gallery like that. So the extensive use of timber and the not needing to use artificial lighting were really important parts of this gallery and trying to have better sustainability features. And of course, reusing everything we could find in the space. So you can see the memory of the trusses and the light, the corrugated sheets there. They're relined and kept. That's it.
Thank you very much.